Beyond the stars of 1966, where the USS Enterprise first ignited our imaginations, lies a far more fragile frontier, the unrelenting passage of time. We remember them as eternal icons of hope, boldly venturing into the unknown, but off camera, a different kind of destiny was waiting, one marked by silent struggles, profound sacrifices, and the inevitable fading of the light. The bridge is quieter now. As we look back, the vibrant faces that defined a generation have been reshaped by decades of joy and heartbreak. Some remain among us as living legends, while others have long since beamed up for the final time. Today, we step across the threshold of memory to reveal the real names, true ages, and the poignant now of the Star Trek cast. Join me as we honor their legacies, but be warned, the most bittersweet truths are saved for the very end. Please, try to stay with us until the final moment. There is a revelation waiting at the journey's conclusion that will truly break your heart. 1. William Shatner. William Shatner, born March 22, 1931, became immortal as Captain James Tiberius Jim Kirk in Star Trek, the original series, 1966 to 1969. Brave, impulsive, romantic, and commanding, Kirk was not just the captain of the Enterprise. He was the face of a future where humanity still dared to dream. In 2026, Shatner is 95 years old. His journey has been a testament to resilience, though it hasn't been without its shadows. The most heart-wrenching chapter of his life occurred in 1999, when he found his third wife, Noreen Kidd, tragically drowned in their pool, a loss that left him in a depth of despair few could imagine. Yet, Shatner channeled his grief into life. In a detail that left the world breathless, at age 90, he became the oldest person to fly into space. Seeing the captain actually touch the stars and return in tears, moved by the fragility of our planet, was a moment where fiction and reality collided in the most beautiful way. After the original series ended in 1969, Shatner faced years of being typecast, even living in a camper truck at one point. But like Kirk, he found a way out of the no-win scenario. He reinvented himself as an Emmy-winning actor in Boston Legal, a best-selling author and a cultural icon. By 2026, Shatner's legacy is as vast as the galaxy, with a net worth estimated at $100 million. While he possesses a passion for breeding world-class horses rather than a fleet of supercars, his true wealth is his enduring vitality. 2. Leonard Nimoy. In Star Trek, the original series, 1966 to 1969, Leonard Nimoy played Mr. Spock, the half-human, half-Vulcan science officer whose calm logic hid a lifetime of inner conflict. Spock was intelligent, restrained, loyal, and quietly emotional beneath the surface. He did not need many words to become unforgettable. One raised eyebrow could say everything. Born on March 26, 1931, in Boston, Massachusetts, Nimoy died on February 27, 2015, in Los Angeles. Nimoy's final years were a battle fought with quiet dignity against COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a consequence of a smoking habit he had quit decades earlier. He spent his sunset years as a fierce advocate for lung health, using his fame to warn others. A detail that moves the soul is his final tweet, sent just days before his passing. A life is like a garden. Perfect moments can be had, but not preserved except in memory. LLAP. It was a poetic goodbye from a man who had spent a lifetime exploring the human condition through the lens of a Vulcan. By 2026, Leonard Nimoy's legacy is towering, with an estimated net worth of $45 million at the time of his passing. He didn't just leave behind wealth, he left a blueprint for dignity. He is remembered not for a car collection, but for a hand gesture that became a universal prayer for peace. To watch him now is to realize that While the actor has returned to the stars, the logic and love he taught us remain, immortal and forever fascinating. 3. Nichelle Nichols. Nichelle Nichols was 33 when Star Trek, the original series, premiered in 1966, playing Lieutenant Uhura, the calm and graceful communications officer of the USS Enterprise. At a time when television rarely gave black women positions of authority, Uhura stood on the bridge as intelligence, dignity, and possibility. She was not background decoration, she was part of the future. After Star Trek, Nichols continued acting in films, television, voice work, and later returned as Uhura in the Star Trek movies. But her greatest second chapter came beyond Hollywood. Her final years were a quiet descent into the shadows of dementia, a condition that eventually led to her passing from natural causes in Silver City, New Mexico. Behind the scenes, her later life was complicated by a distressing legal battle over her conservatorship, a hidden rift that saddened those who saw her as a pillar of strength. Yet, even as her memory faded, her spirit remained anchored in the stars she once pretended to navigate. By 2026, Nichelle Nichols' legacy is measured far beyond her estimated $8 million net worth. She didn't need a collection of luxury cars to prove her status. Her name is written on the very satellites that circle our Earth. In the hearts of the audience, she remains the eternal Uhura, a reminder that communication is the first step toward peace. She has finally joined the stars she once watched from the bridge, leaving us with a silence that resonates with her grace. 4. James Doohan. James Doohan, born March 3, 1920, became beloved as Montgomery Scotty Scott in Star Trek, the original series, 1966 to 1969. As the Enterprise's chief engineer, he was loyal, witty, and always fighting impossible odds with the famous spirit of, "I'm giving her all she's got." Doohan died on July 20th, 2005, at 85. His final years were a quiet battle against the ticking clock of the human body. Doohan faced a complex array of health challenges, including Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's, before eventually succumbing to pneumonia. Yet, the most moving detail of his life predates his fame. During D-Day in World War II, he was shot 6 times, and a silver cigarette case in his pocket actually stopped a bullet from piercing his chest. He lost his right middle finger that day, a physical scar he hidden for decades behind clever camera angles on Star Trek. Knowing the miracle worker was a real-life hero who carried the weight of war makes his warm, cinematic smile feel all the more precious. By 2026, his physical estate is valued at roughly $7 million, but his presence is truly felt in the heavens. Following his wishes, a portion of his ashes was launched into space, first aboard a Falcon 9 rocket, and reportedly even smuggled onto the International Space Station. James Doohan doesn't just live in our memories, he is a part of the cosmos he once helped us dream about. To see him now is to realize that while the engines have cooled, the fire he lit in the hearts of dreamers will never go out. 5. Eddie Paskey. Eddie Paskey, born Edward J. Paskey on August 20th, 1939, became one of the quiet faces of Star Trek, the original series. As Lieutenant Leslie, he was rarely the center of the story, yet he seemed always present on the Enterprise, at the bridge, in security, in the background of danger. He died on August 17th, 2021, just 3 days before his 82nd birthday. Eddie's departure from the spotlight was as quiet as his on-screen presence. In his later years, he struggled with failing health, eventually passing away just before his 82nd birthday. A detail that remains deeply moving for Trekkies is the reason he left the show during the 3rd season. A severe case of cluster headaches and the physical toll of the intense set lights became unbearable. It is a poignant realization that the man who seemed so steady on the bridge was quietly enduring agonizing pain just to keep the dream of the future alive for the fans. After hanging up his red tunic, Eddie chose a life far from the vanity of Hollywood. He moved to Santa Ana, California, and opened a successful automotive business called the Air Shop. He traded the stars for the steady rhythm of a workshop, finding peace in the tangible world of mechanics. He remained happily married to his wife, Judy, for over 60 years, a rare, beautiful stability that stood in stark contrast to the fleeting fame of the industry. 6. George Takei. George Takei was 29 when Star Trek, the original series, premiered in 1966, playing Hikaru Sulu, the calm and capable helmsman of the USS Enterprise. In a future imagined beyond borders and old prejudices, Sulu stood at the controls with quiet confidence, not as a stereotype, but as a skilled officer trusted to guide the ship. Born on April 20th, 1937 in Los Angeles, Takei is still living. After the stars of Star Trek dimmed, George's career underwent a miraculous transformation. He didn't just stay an actor, he became a social media icon and a powerful activist. He conquered Broadway with his musical allegiance and became a champion for LGBTQ+ rights. In 2008, he married his longtime partner Brad Altman in a ceremony that felt like a triumph for every fan who had followed his long journey toward authenticity. By 2026, George Takei holds a net worth of approximately $14 million. He doesn't focus on material extravagance or car collections, choosing instead to invest in education and social justice. He occupies a unique place in the hearts of the audience, not just as a pilot of a starship, but as a moral compass for a generation. Looking at him today, we see a man who finally reached the destination he was always steering toward, a life lived entirely without fear. 7. Walter Koenig. Walter Koenig, born September 14, 1936, became beloved as Pavel Chekhov in Star Trek, the original series. He joined the show in 1967, bringing youth, humor, and a Russian accent that became part of the Enterprise's charm. In 2026, Koenig is 89 years old, one of the last surviving original cast members. While he has maintained a healthy and active lifestyle well into his 80s, Koenig's journey has been marked by a profound, private heartbreak. The most moving and tragic chapter of his life occurred in 2010, when his son, actor Andrew Koenig, tragically took his own life after a battle with depression. EU. Walter's public vulnerability during that time, pleading for his son to come home and later advocating for mental health awareness, revealed a depth of character that went far beyond his sci-fi persona. It was a moment that reminded us that even those who travel the stars are deeply anchored to the fragility of human life. By 2026, his legacy is one of intellectual grit and enduring kindness. With a net worth estimated at $8 million, he doesn't seek the spotlight with a collection of supercars. Instead, he lives a life of quiet reflection and community. To the fans, he remains the young ensign who proved that no matter where we come from, we all share the same destiny among the stars. Walter Koenig is a living bridge to our childhood memories, reminding us that while time changes our faces, the spirit of exploration remains eternal. 8. Majel Barrett. Majel Barrett, born Majel Lee. Hudek, on February the 23rd, 1932, entered Star Trek, the original series as Nurse Christine Chapel, the calm, devoted medical officer whose quiet love for Spock gave the cold corridors of the Enterprise a deeply human sadness. She died on December 18, 2008, at age 76, but to fans, she never truly left the ship. Her final journey was a quiet, 5-year battle with leukemia. Despite her declining health, she remained a pillar of the Star Trek community until her final breath. A detail that brings a tear to many fans is the timing of her departure. She passed away just months before the 2009 Star Trek reboot was released, having already completed her final voice recording as the ship's computer. It is a hauntingly beautiful realization that even as she was leaving this world, her voice was being preserved to guide the next generation of explorers into the unknown. By 2026, Majel Barrett's legacy is monumental, with a net worth estimated at over $60 million at the time of her passing. She didn't seek out luxury car collections. Instead, she invested in the dreams of millions, funding the continuation of science fiction's greatest voyage. To hear her voice today is to hear a ghost in the machine, a warm, maternal presence that reminds us that while the stars are distant, we are never truly alone in the dark. 9. Grace Lee Whitney. Grace Lee Whitney was 36 when Star Trek, the original series, premiered in 1966, playing Yeoman Janice Rand, Captain Kirk's trusted assistant aboard the USS Enterprise. With her striking beehive hairstyle and composed presence, Rand brought elegance, discipline, and a quiet, emotional tension to the bridge. She was not in many episodes, but fans never forgot her. Born Mary Ann Chase on April 1, 1930, Whitney had already worked as a singer and actress before Star Trek. Her sunset years were spent in the quiet beauty of Coarsegold, California. She passed away from natural causes, but her journey to that peaceful end was anything but simple. For decades, Grace carried the hidden shadow of her sudden departure from the show after only 8 episodes, a transition that plunged her into a dark spiral of addiction. Her eventual victory over these demons became her true life's work, turning a Hollywood tragedy into a beacon of hope for others. By 2026, Grace Lee Whitney is remembered not for an expansive car collection or a massive net worth estimated at $2 million at the time of her passing, but for her honesty. She remains a beloved figure at the heart of the fandom, a reminder that even in a future of warp drives and transporters, the greatest journey is the one we take to heal ourselves. Looking back at Janice Rand today, we don't just see a yeoman, we see the face of a woman who conquered her own universe. 10. Barbara Babcock. Barbara Babcock, born February 27, 1937, was heard in Star Trek, the original series as the voice of the Beta 5 computer, most notably in Assignment Earth. It was not a face on the bridge, but a voice, cool, precise, futuristic, helping make the Star Trek universe feel larger than what viewers could see. In 2026, Babcock is 89 years old. After her mission with Star Trek ended, Barbara's career reached heights few voice actors achieve. She became a powerhouse in the 80s, winning an Emmy for her role in Hill Street Blues and starring in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. She didn't let the sci-fi label define her, moving effortlessly between gritty drama and Western charm. She eventually chose to retire to the serene landscapes of Ireland and later California, favoring the rustle of leaves over the applause of a studio audience. By 2026, her legacy is measured in quality rather than quantity, with a net worth estimated at $2 million. She doesn't keep a collection of luxury cars. Her wealth is found in a lifetime of respected performances and the quiet peace of her retirement. Barbara Babcock remains the hidden heartbeat of the original series, a reminder that sometimes the most influential presence is the one that speaks directly to our imagination, echoing eternally through the stars. 11. DeForest. Kelly DeForest Kelly, born on January the 20th, 1920, became unforgettable as Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy in Star Trek, the original series. He was the ship's doctor, but also its beating human heart, impatient, emotional, funny, and deeply loyal. Beside Kirk's courage and Spock's logic, McCoy gave the Enterprise warmth. Kelly died on June 11, 1999, at the age of 79. DeForest's final years were spent away from the flashing cameras battling stomach cancer. He faced his illness with the same quiet dignity he brought to his roles, passing away at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital. A detail that profoundly moves fans is the letters he received from real-life doctors. Hundreds of physicians wrote to him saying they entered the medical field because of Bones. It is a beautiful irony. The man who played a doctor in space became a beacon of inspiration for those saving lives on Earth. By 2026, DeForest Kelly's legacy is measured not by a fleet of cars or a vast estate. His net worth was estimated at $5 million, but by the millions of hearts he touched. He doesn't have a flashy collection of assets. He has the eternal gratitude of a generation that learned compassion through his eyes. To look back at his performance now is to realize that while Bones may have claimed he was just a country doctor, DeForest Kelley was the anchor that kept the future feeling human.